Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Dr. DAAM. This is Dr. DAAM Podcast. This is episode 28 on age and wisdom. You know, there's a podcast I want to do on dialogue, speaking, and engagement with folks, but events of today, preempted my discussion, like the topic I want to talk about. Today, one of the most interesting and dynamic, and I guess in terms historic now, presidents, Jimmy Carter passed away at the age of 100. One of Jimmy Carter's last acts before he closed his eyes was to vote for Kamala Harris for President of the United States, which shows the fact that he understood the needs of the country going forward, but others chose in a different direction, so here we are. But during when I heard the news of President Carter's passing, I was doing my 6-month circuit with my daughters, visiting a lot of the older folks in our family that here in the New York metro area. I have a belief, I live by a belief system. What we do with those who are elderly, how we treat them, how we take care of them, how we honor them, is repaid back in spades. It can be repaid back to you, repaid back to your children, but there's a repayment aspect. So if you treat them well, you will be treated well also too. If you treat them poorly, you likely will be treated poorly also, because ironically in this world, karma actually works in the favor of the elderly folks, because they have age and wisdom, and the world actually likes and loves elderly folks because they've kept them around for a long time now. So I was visiting my 91-year-old grandmother. She's going to be 92 in a couple of months. My 97-and-a-half-year-old great aunt, even we're not blood related, but her daughter is my godmother, but she was also there at my birth over 42 years ago. I normally would visit my other great aunt who's 94, but I was making a rodeo of 5 houses with my children, so it was a lot of houses to get to in about 7 hours or so. And if you know New York City traffic, it's not as easy to maneuver as you would in other locales due to the tight confines and the density of traffic on the road. We actually spent going into Manhattan to go into Brooklyn just to get into the Holland Tunnel. It took us, I think it was somewhere between 50 minutes to an hour to go through. So yeah, that kind of consumed much time that I had not planned for, but it's New York City, so I understand. But what I want to talk about is age and wisdom. My perspective is, as you age, you are supposed to develop some level of wisdom, meaning your life experiences has informed your decision making in a better manner. We can easily see at different times folks become more entrenched in their beliefs, in how they behave as they get older, versus developing wisdom, which is unfortunate. But the smart folks who grow and mature as they age develop a sense of reasonableness, a sense of flexibility, a sense of engagement, and a sense of constant wonder about the world, even as they age. And that's the kind of level of wisdom they pass on to the next generation, a generation after that, because they develop a belief system that they're not only here for themselves, but here for others, whether it's their kids, their grandkids, kids of friends, or just strangers in general. They're here to pass on the knowledge they've garnered so we all can leverage, use, optimize, utilize their experiences, hopefully in a positive manner, and don't make the same mistakes that they did. But human behavior is human behavior, and folks want to learn the mistakes of the older folks. So it's not as necessarily the same, but it's almost parallel in how folks relearn the mistakes of the older folks, even after the older folks have told them what guided them and given guidance on what not to do. But that is life. They will gain the same wisdom as they get older. Also, I think for a lot of young people, we don't really value age as much. Our society, especially here in the United States, don't really value age of older people, which is sad. I know in other countries, age is seen as something that is monumental. I personally see age as something monumental, something to treasure, because not everyone gets to be a certain age. Not everyone gets to be 91. Not everyone gets to be 97. Not everyone gets to be Jimmy Carter's age of 100, or whoever the oldest American in the world right now, or whoever is the oldest person in the world right now. Because life is fleeting. You only have a certain amount of time, and you don't know how much time that is. And you've got to learn to live within the moment, meaning that you do what's best in that moment on behalf of society and yourself. For as I mentioned before, I've always mentioned in part of this podcast, this is a society podcast. This is the Dr. DAAM Podcast, but this is also Society Podcast, and they also affectionately called it Mom and Pop Podcast. Because everything I talk about is focused on helping us elevate our society, helping us as human beings get to the next level of achievement together as a cohesive whole. You know, I can easily make a podcast that's filled with divisiveness and different things, but I would like to stay more on the positive side. Will I critique certain acts, certain events? Yes, because I owe it to the audience to be transparent in my viewpoints about certain things. Because if I feel something that's can be detrimental to our society, detrimental to people, and I don't speak out, what is the point of having this podcast? So, in terms of age and wisdom, I think we need as a society to truly, especially here in the United States, I know a lot of folks overseas, this may not apply to you, but we need to revisit how we take care of our older folks, how we invest in them, how we provide for them, how we treasure them. Because without them, we would not be here. Without the great things they have created for our society, without the great decisions they have made for our society. Okay, they've also made some bad decisions, so that's the nature of things. But without the great decisions they've made for our society, we would not have the potential for further greatness that we have going forward. The next generation would not have the technologies, the living circumstances, the opportunities for future growth, if not for the older folks. Are there some older folks who are selfish and just focus on themselves? Yes. Are they the majority? No. They are a small minority. And thus we should never generalize older folks based on their behavior, because most older people, elderly people, are wonderful people, great people. And I hope to be one of them one day. A wonderful old man, who's beloved by his family, who's beloved by his friends, and beloved by many. So that's why I try to be as good as person as possible. Am I perfect? No, far from perfect. I love my imperfection. And that's the great thing you learn from talking with older folks about the imperfections of life and how you live it and how you thrive through it and how you can make a difference. Because if older folks lived a perfect life, there'd be nothing to learn from them. They wouldn't really have any wisdom. They'd basically be individuals who said, yes, my life was awesome and it was always great, and you're sitting there listening to them like, so you really didn't love life. When I hear anyone say that my life has always been good, I give them the side eye. I'm like, really? Okay. So you never stubbed your toe? You never had a cut? You were never sad? And they're like, oh, yeah, so your life was never really truly perfect and great. It was life in general. And that's what older folks understand, and that's what they try to pass on to a lot of younger people. That life will be as good as you make it, as long as you make great choices. Yes, you will make some bad choices, but as long as they're recoverable, you can move forward. Some people will make some unrecoverable choices, and that will mess up their lives and potentially mess up other people's lives because of their choices. And that's why learning from older people is very, very helpful in terms of one's maturation process, because it forces you to understand that what you do now will matter into the future. Because older people have the ability to retrospectively look back and see the choices they made and how it affected their lives going forward, because they have decades behind them. I often talk about one of my mottos is years building years, decades building decades. And that is fundamental truth of everything we do in life. Whatever we do in this moment will have ramifications down through many other moments. And we've got to be cognizant of that. Older people are cognizant of that. That's why they have a level of patience that younger people don't have. They're not as quick to make a decision because they understand the ramifications, versus a younger person who's quick to make decisions, and then all of a sudden they discover that the ramifications that they may not have considered fruition. And fruition either to their benefit or not to their benefit. So that's the great thing about getting older. It's about wisdom, developing wisdom, becoming much more centered in oneself, becoming much more centered in one society, becoming much more tolerant of others, hopefully, becoming much more resilient to different crises. You're not gonna enter a state of turmoil and turbulence. If a crisis occurs, you can become much more calm, you become much more deliberative, and then you start to give out guidance in terms of action based on your experience. So that's the great thing about age and wisdom. Another thing about age and wisdom, from my perspective, is that you get to honor your ancestors. I visited the National African American Museum at the Smithsonian twice so far, and I've left 2 videos there. Left one video by myself, I think it was 2021 or 2022, I forgot which year. Then I recently left a picture with another video with my eldest daughter, where we addressed the fact that we are focused on honoring our ancestors, those who made it across the ocean from African slave ships. Our ancestors landed in Guyana. A lot of the ancestors landed here in the United States, or what would become the United States. But their struggle, their journey, their sacrifice, their forced sacrifice in a way, but they're still their sacrifice, is the reason why we're here today. We have to honor them. The Chinese always talk about filial piety, honoring one's ancestors, and I believe in honoring my ancestors because I hope my descendants will honor me for the choices I made on their behalf. Choices I made that will be helpful for them over the long term. Because I'm not making choices based on their behalf. That's up to them. I believe in free will, and they will have the free will to choose what they want to do. They will not be bound by David Anthony Allen Matheson's or Dr. DAAM's choices. They'll be bound to their own choices. So assume they're responsible for their choices. And that's something that comes with age. The fact you realize that you can only create the context for the future up to a certain point, and it's up to others who follow you to further expand upon that context and build it out. Hopefully, for the benefit of society, for the benefit of their family, for the benefit of themselves, but most importantly, for the benefit of society. Because society is what matters. The society must continue. Society must grow. Society must evolve. The society must transform in a positive manner that benefits millions and billions of people across this world. Because why would you want anything less than that? And I don't think I would have had this kind of perspective when I was 18 years old, but now I'm in my early 40s, 42, approaching 43. I have this belief system that is, society is the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. How we treat each other, how we engage with each other, how we love each other, how we help each other, how we make a difference in each other's lives. And that comes with age and wisdom. And older people understand that. I can see it in my grandparents, in my great aunts. Are they still imperfect, as I mentioned before? Yes. Highly imperfect. But they're really trying to work hard to make a difference. And I think that's what Jimmy Carter saw when he left the presidency in January 20, 1981. He realized that his story did not end at the presidency. His story would evolve and continue, trying to make a difference through Habitat for Humanity and other venues, because he believed that our society mattered. And I don't think that being president convinced him of that. I think he intuitively knew that. That's why he ran for president of the United States. And it's often said the fact that his now 44 years, I guess it's 43, almost 44 before he passed away, after the presidency, has been the most dynamic post-presidency in the history of the United States. And I can say history of the world. And he's made a difference in our society. He made more of a difference in our society as a ex-president than as a then president, because he was unencumbered by the chains of the office, in terms of the fact that he didn't have to get sign off from X, Y, and Z to make a decision or move forward with something that he was passionate about in a good way. If he was passionate about that thing, he would pursue it. And that's the great thing about getting older. You become unencumbered from the burdensome nature of the conventions of society, and you make decisions that are best for everyone. You're not worried about your reputation, how it's going to impact you and things like that, because you've made it. You've gotten to that age. You've garnered that wisdom that the only thing that matters is the difference you make in our society. One of my other mottos is lead, change, and make a difference. I've had that since I was 32, I guess now, 10 years now. And I think my daughter's going to adopt that as her motto and maybe become a family motto. But that's what it ought to be in our society as you get older. Leading, change, and making a difference. And even if you don't want to lead, just make a difference. As an older person, you can make such a great difference in the lives of younger people. And you have the wisdom to do it. That's why we younger people ought to value older people. Because what they will do will matter to our society, and what they will do will matter to our lives. And we must be thankful for them for working on our behalf, making sacrifices, making decisions that will benefit our society writ large. So, with that, I want to say thank you to President Carter for a life well lived. Thank you to my grandmother. Thank you for my great aunt for awesome advice and, always reaching out and engaging, and also trying to make a difference in the lives of their descendants. I look forward to visiting them in the future. But I just want to say, value older people. Because one day they'll be gone. And then you'll be the old person. And you'd want people to value you. And that comes with wisdom. If you have the wisdom to value older people, you will receive the wisdom from the younger people to value you. And thus value their society. Because older folks are the cornerstone of our society. With that, my name is Dr. DAAM. This is Dr. DAAM Podcast. Please like and subscribe to my podcast. I truly appreciate it. Have a wonderful December 30th coming up. It's December 29th. Have a wonderful December 30th. Pre-New Year's Eve. And have a great time wherever you celebrate. Be safe. Bye.